that makes a lot of sense. So, as you see, we've got a microphone up here in the middle of the audience. This is a Q&A for you. This is for y'all, all right? So I want you asking all the questions. So if you have a question, come up to the microphone, form a line. I want this to be all about y'all. You don't want to hear me asking questions, I promise you, okay? So you got questions? Come on up to the microphone. Let us introduce, ladies and gentlemen, the cast members of Dragon Ball Z. Here's what we're going to do. Because the ladies are all first here on this end, we're going to let everyone introduce themselves to you so that we don't, I don't mess up anyone's name or leave any letters out of anyone's name or anything like that. We don't want that to happen. So we'll start here and we'll let everyone introduce themselves.
We just made this like unintentional 5th grade social.
Yeah.
All the girls over here.
Hi, my name is Kara Edwards. And since this is a Dragon Ball panel, I'm the voice of Goten, Fidel, Gotenks, Upa, and Lime in the Dragon Ball series.
What?
Hi, I'm Cynthia Cranz. I am Chi-Chi, I'm Mrs. Reeves, and I'm Baby Broly. My name's Tiffany Vollmer, and I was Vollmer from 1998 to 2008. She in the house, y'all. What's up, okay?
I'm Kent Williams, Dr. Giro, Mercenary Tao, Supreme Kai, Elder Kai, Kabito Kai. Should I stop?
Hi guys, Chris Rager here, voice of Hercule, Mr. Satan, King Yemma, Android 14, a whole bunch of other people that died really fast.
I was in some great Walla scenes.
Yes, lots of Walla.
What's up, I'm Josh Martin, aka Majin Buu. I'm Sonny Strait, the voice of Krillin and Bardock.
That it? I can't.
All right, thank you guys for coming.
Good enough to the end of the panel.
You're awesome.
All right. Again, this is a Q&A for all of you in the audience. So if you have a question, there's the microphone right there. Come up, don't be shy. Form a line. We want you to ask your question. When you get to the microphone, please tell us your name and then give us your question. All right, fire away.
Please form your questions in the form of a question.
This is Jeopardy, after all.
Hello, my name is Micah Thomas. I love all of you. My question is for Mr. Satan. Could you say anything in the Satan voice?
Good. Anything.
It's delicious.
No, I'll give you more than that. I'll give you a little, well, I'm sick and tired of all these lassos and tricks. If you invite me, you invite me, chum. Oh, yeah.
My name is Dante Vision.
Hey, Dante.
And this is a question for practically all of you.
Practically?
Except
for Kent.
How old is Majin Buu, actually?
That's a good question. Do you count the reincarnation of Oob?
Yes.
Oh.
Well, what was your name again?
Dante.
Correct, 10 points, Dante. So Dante, as we know in the story, Majin Buu was made from an almighty demon that Babidi visited and wished that he could harness his power. That demon told Babidi, you can't handle all this, I'll give you a little piece of it. And that is Kid Buu. So Kid Buu, I would say the age of Buu himself is infinite.
Wow.
What do you think, Boo?
That's pretty old.
Are pretty young.
Infinite.
I mean, it could be anything.
There you
Good job,
the
Dante.
infinite.
Thank you, Dante.
Nice question.
Good job, man. Hey, if there's only 3 questions, that's great because we can quit early, but it's very discouraging. Thank you for standing.
Hi, my name is Helen, and I have a question for all of you. How did you all get in voice acting?
Hey, you stole my question if no one was going to ask questions.
I think I can answer for all of us. We slept with Chris Sabat, and that's how we got the part.
I mean, you were.
You told me it was standard.
That's basically how it happened for me.
Okay, I was going to say, I want to be the only one.
Chris Sabat, were we not?
Actually, I was cast by Barry Watson.
I was cast by Barry Watson as well, Chris.
I was cast by Barry Watson as well, but Chris was there.
Chris was there.
Yeah.
Chris asked me to audition.
I auditioned for Chris, and he told me I got the part, but I don't know who made the decision.
See, you guys all started because I didn't come in until season 3, so like in Z. So you guys had already been there a while. I literally answered an ad in the paper. I was working on the radio. Yeah, I was working on the. It's true story.
Wanted woman with a child's voice.
True story. I was working for Radio Disney, and my on-air partner, we had a show, was Kyle Aber.
Kyle, that's right.
And so Kyle,
Squeech!
we were reading the newspaper in 1999, and there was an ad from a company called Fun Animation asking for people who could do cartoon voices to come and do an open call audition. And at that point, Kyle was a really big Dragon Ball Z fan. So he's the narrator and he voices Teen Gohan.
And he plays Chi-Chi's dad.
Yeah, so he...
and Chi-Chi's adult son.
And everything, trust me, it's everything. And so he was like, we should go down and do this audition. And so literally we traipsed down there and he wore his Dragon Ball Z shirt and they were all like, oh God. And yeah, and then that's like, the rest was history. I had no idea what I was walking into.
By the way, no offense, but you don't look old enough to have existed when papers were still a thing. Like, how were you around when newspapers still had ads, by the way? I don't
Right, now I remember those days.
No, mine was for a newspaper too. A friend of mine worked at the newspaper that placed the ad and bugged me. On the 3rd time he bugged me to go, I went. And I had no idea what anime was. I didn't know what the show was. And I was supposed to try to, as closely as I could, match the Canadian actresses' voices on all the female characters.
Yeah.
I actually was asked, a friend of mine who I did theater with, she was a friend of Chris Sabat's. And she auditioned, she didn't get a part, but she said, hey, I told Chris about you because you do all those character voices. And so I just went up there and got the audition that way through a friend. And yeah, it was cool.
Josh and I were in a comedy troupe together called Section 8 Comedy, and that also consisted of a member named Mike McFarland, who plays Master Roshi. So we've been performing comedy for many years together. Mike one day walks into before a show and was like, hey man, I booked a part doing some voices on these cartoons. You guys should go audition. And I thought, man, if Mike can do it, I know I can do it. And so I went and auditioned, and Mr. Satan was on the docket that day on the audition list, and I booked the part. They liked it. And then later, about a year later, Chris Sabat comes to that comedy show I was talking about and sees Josh.
Doing a character called the Pillsbury Homeboy.
Yes. Love him.
That's right. Nothing says loving like the blunts I be puffing.
And that's where Ma Shampoo came from.
Wow.
Yeah.
So there's a true story.
All right, so you kind of just answered a little bit of my question, but how did y'all come up with the voices for your characters? You know, put your little personal touch on it.
Here, I'll go first. I will never forget the first time. Fidel's just my own voice, so that was easy. But I will never forget the first time they're like, so you're gonna voice this 7-year-old little boy, and I was like, eh? At that point, I'd never heard the girl's voice. And so it was Chris Sabat and Barry Watson who were like, okay, it's just gotta be really gravelly, just put it in your throat and get really gravelly. And vocal health was not something that they were terribly concerned about helping any of us with. But especially back then, and we didn't know any better. And so I remember Barry Watson would tell me to bring lemon. Remember the lemon, little yellow lemon things that you would buy in the store? He's like, just squirt them down your vocal cords. It'll help you a lot. True.
Oh my gosh.
True. Strait
straight up lemon juice. And I remember too, like some of the stuff they would tell us to do was so bad.
Smoke.
Like, so it's a miracle we all still have voices.
It's true. Well, I've lost some notes in my 3.5 degree.
For sure.
I will just tell you, I don't use my voice as nearly as professionally as they do, but I do. Don't squirt lemon juice down your throat if you ever want your voice to sound
Don't
good.
make it a challenge. Don't make that a Facebook challenge. We're not doing the lemon.
Lemon is bad for your throat?
Straight up fake lemon juice?
Lemon concentrate.
Yeah, straight acid down your throat? That's not good.
The question was, how do we put our touches on it?
Or how do we find our voice?
How'd you find your voice?
I started out trying to match the Canadian actress, but Chris Sabat quickly directed me to be more white trash and more rough. And
such a stretch.
yeah, so that's my natural touch.
Give me more Cynthia. That's what I want.
With Vollmer, I read for 7 different roles, and Barry Watson comes out of the booth, or out of my audition room, and he's like, hey, I just want to let you know that you did a really great job. I could see you in any of those voices. And at the time, I was like, don't call us, we'll call you. Like, good college try, kid, but, you know, don't give up on your dreams. And then when I got the role, I worked with Barry mostly, and he always said that he liked this real waterfall effect that Vollmer had. In his mind, he saw Vollmer as this genius, and the thing that balanced her out was this real cutesy little part of her. And he used like Carol Burnett as an example. And so when I got if I knew how long I was gonna be doing her, I might have done her a little, no, I'm just kidding. Might have made it a little easier on myself. But yeah, so I found this little giggle and this way that she had to complain about everything all the time. And now she pops out in my real life on a daily basis.
She pops out.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that they did come back when like Super and all that was coming around. Savick called me and he goes, I know this voice, like for me, Goten, he's like, it's killing you. And I said, yeah, I can't maintain that voice anymore. And he said, if you'll come back and do the show, you can do anything you want. And I was like, sweet, I'm gonna make him a real little boy. Which is why I did. If you notice, his voice changes in Super and people thought it was a new voice actor. No, I just wanted to voice him the way I always had wanted to voice him. And by then I had a little boy, so I changed his voice to sound like a real little boy for the first time. Which, yeah, it's been really fun to go back and be like, this is me as this character. So.
It's starting out at the Supreme Kai. That when you brought up Barry Watson, that was one of the weirdest auditions that I've had. Because he had me go through, he wanted a surfer take, then an Irish take. So it was all of these different bizarre dialects, and then it just watered right down to what I had started with from the very beginning. That really soft, breathy, meek, wimpy, kind of supreme-y guy.
How did that sound Irish?
What was he Irish?
Oh, it was like Lucky Charms. Hi, Goku, it's so nice to meet you. And then it was like surfer dude.
I couldn't see him as a surfer.
I know with that hair. I think that was what he was saying, but like, yeah.
Oh man, no. For Mr. Satan, when I went in, the picture they had of him, he was in a victory pose, and he had the championship belt, and he had that Hogan mustache, and that's the only thing I could think of was Hulk Hogan, Hulk Hogan, Hulk Hogan. I couldn't get it out of my head. And coming from that world of improv, when you feel strongly about something like that, you roll with it. And so, you know, I threw a little Macho Man Randy Savage in there to go along with it, and they seemed to like it, and they gave me the part.
Well, that kind of answered my part to the questions of were you aware that you were adding the Macho Man's voice to
100%.
Yeah. And my question for all of y'all.
Hey, we don't get the answer yet. Shh. Sit down.
Don't do that. Please down here.
How did you find your voice, man?
Pillsbury Homeboy.
Okay, there you go.
But Sonny, how did you find your voice for Homeboy?
Well, when I did it, we had to sound like the original Canadian cast. You guys remember that? And the original one sounded like this, like he was on Team 4 Star or something. And I got the part because I can mock him the best, but the first day I was doing the read, Barry said, you know, that sounds just like Terry Clausen's Krillin, but I hate that voice. And I was like, oh shit, he's gonna replace me. And I was like, dude, I do the voice. He goes, yeah, I know, I remember from your audition. Well, by the time I had auditioned, I had found the manga and started reading it. And the voice I had in my head was a lot different than what the Canadians did. And it sounded more like Popeye on helium. So I said, how about like Popeye on helium? And he goes, what would that sound like? I went, I don't know, something like this. Come on, let's go, guys. Anyway, yeah, use that. So that's how I got my voice. Yeah, use that.
My other question is, out of all the legendary Saiyans and the android, I think it was 13, the blue one with the flame red hair. Who do you think would probably kick the other's ass, 13 or Broly?
13 was Trucker. That was Trucker Android.
Right.
Android 14 was the blue guy with the long black ponytail, which was me. And then he was Android 15, the little pimp android.
Break yourself, Goku!
And
I don't think any of them could have beaten Broly, though.
No, I don't think so. I think that would have been a bloodbath. Or a lot of mechanical parts bath.
Hi.
Hello.
My name is Leslie. If you had to voice a different character in the series, who would you all choose?
Goku. I mean,
You mean like this? Hey, my name's Sean Schimmel, and I'd voice Goku. Sean Schimmel? Let's watch me Sean Schimmel.
I think I would pick Mr. Satan.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, let's hear your Mr. Satan.
Yeah, let's hear that.
It would be fun, but I can't imagine it like.
Just say, I'm
First of all,
Jack.
it just sounds painful.
You can't say you want to do it and then not do it.
I actually just did. I said it.
Fine, I want to be Vegeta. And Piccolo, and Yamcha.
Yeah.
And
just all Chris's roles.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Along the lines of that question, though, when I auditioned, and I didn't know anything about the show, but I knew that Chi-Chi was Vegeta's wife, and Goku was Chi-Chi's wife. Sorry. Is my slip showing? Been after Goku the whole time. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, but I thought that, well, if he got the most airtime, that his wife would get a lot of airtime too. So I thought I wanted to be Chi-Chi because I thought I would have a bigger role.
Yeah.
Shots fired.
Oh my god, they're gonna keep making sounds. You need to ask a question.
This is for Majin Buu. My name is Christian. Who do you think win a fight, Majin Buu or Broly?
Majin Buu.
Majin Buu.
Nobody.
That's why Majin Buu fell asleep in the world tournament. Because they could not justify him not defeating everyone.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right?
Absolutely.
And you know, if I remember correctly, Goku had a little problem with my boy Kid Buu here. I had to call upon the people of Earth to help with this little tiny spirit bomb. You're welcome, Goku. Right? When you need my help, you ain't that strong.
I have two questions. One for Sonny and Kara. Can y'all both say Kamehameha as Goten and Krillin?
Together?
Yes, like in the Broly movie.
Ready? Now don't you, that was weak. I blame myself.
I feel like
I didn't have a proper breakfast.
I feel like the good stuff between a Kamehameha sandwich.
Kamehameha sandwich.
Yes.
It's not as good as a dynamite punch.
That's to wash it down.
I have two more questions for Sonny. I'm a big fan of Team 4-Star.
Oh, get the fuck. I'm sorry. What's my language? What is Team 4-Star?
Earmuffs.
And I love the voice they do for Bardock in it, and I love the movie. So in your Bardock voice, can you say, I can see the future?
I can see the future. No, I'm trying to do like... like them.
I can see the future.
And then my last question.
Yeah.
Tournament of Power arc was my favorite in Super. So what's it like being the brother-in-law to the savior of all the universes?
Oh, it's pretty cool. Because maybe he won't be so mean, you know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How's it going? Name's Cameron.
Hey, Cameron.
So, this is for Mr. Satan.
Yes.
You know how the whole Macho Randy thing you were talking about?
Yes.
Who do you think would win in a fight? Macho Man Randy Savage or Mr. Satan?
That's a good question. Well, I mean, technically, although wrestling is quite the art form, I would like to remind everyone, before a bunch of flying dudes from a Saiyan planet who could shoot laser beams out of their hands, I was the world's martial arts champion of the world.
That's because Krillin didn't compete against you.
Krillin doesn't have a nose.
Doesn't matter.
All right? That's not human. Krillin's not human. That's made up.
Yeah, this whole time I just thought my shit didn't stink.
So we're getting a lot of questions about who would win in a fight, and down here we've just made the decision it'd actually probably be more entertaining. Can we just find out who would win in a fight, just period?
Just like right now?
Can we just like start
y'all just get knives?
I don't know, like Ray
I don't want to fight you, Kara.
best friends. Who would win?
I want to fight Kara.
All right, so I have one more question. Sonny, how did you get the voice of Bardock? It's cool. Man.
I don't know. John Bergmeyer is one of the head writers at Funimation. He was directing that show, and he just thought I'd be perfect in it. And then he said, I want you to use your lowest range, right? And I went, why? And I said, the original is played by a woman in Japan, and he's Goku's dad. Yeah. So really, I just sound like a tough Sean Schimmel. Because just do it low. Okay. So, I was stuck with this low voice.
Yeah.
That's how I got it. Yeah. I don't know how.
Hey Tiff. Hey Tiff, what's up girl? What's up girl? Okay, it's Vollmer. Her name is Tiffany. She's dressed as Vollmer. My name is Tiffany. I was Vollmer. This is amazing. This never happens, y'all.
So I want to know if you guys had, just anybody, a favorite scene or recording from when you guys do it at all. Something that's just stuck with you.
So I always get this question a lot, and it's such a good question. And I always tell people, they'll say like, who's your favorite character? Who's your favorite? And it's like choosing a child. And it depends from favorite scenes. We can probably, I tend to think more of favorite recording experiences.
Yeah.
Those really resonate with me. Those are the ones that you go in and you're like, where the magic happens, where like the director's great, or there's something happening with the music, or you know, some of the characters, like I can think of one from Yu Yu Hakusho, a character named Marugu, that's like this beautiful parrot that's super evil, and it's like therapy because you get to go in and be really evil, which is fun. So I tend to think a lot of those scenes, like the Spopovich fight. This is a Dragonball panel, so the Spopovich fight with Videl is super memorable for me. Just going through that experience, it took so much out of me. Or like one of the early Broly movies, any of the stuff with Goten and Trunks when they're just being total clowns together, hysterical stuff. Those are probably two of my absolute favorites.
I liked it when Chi-Chi and Videl were mad at each other.
Oh my god, what was that sound when they were like,
I know.
What they're doing is literally this. They're like, but in the Japanese, like they had the strangest sound, and I remember the first time, and then the second time, and
it was all you were like, yeah, that was.
What is that?
But I just liked that Chi-Chi didn't like her until she realized that she had money, and then she was all about.
Oh, yeah. You're hilarious in that scene. It's so funny.
That's Daddy's money, by the way.
I like this question too, and I mean, I loved everything about Dragon Ball, and all the exchanges with Master Roshi are super fun and all that stuff, but I felt really close to my character when we did the History of Trunks movie, and John Bergmeyer, who was one of the head writers, directed that movie as well, and working with him, he really, you got to see all of Vollmer. You didn't get just the little cutesy girl that's like being left on a planet that's exploding or getting chased by a, dinosaur or something. you know, you got to see her be a mom, you got to see that nurturing side of her. So I felt like it was the most dimensional that Vollmer was allowed to be at that time, and so that is something that stuck with me.
I love it that my career at Funimation did not end with the death of my first character, Dr. Giraud. And not having any idea, watching your head getting stepped on screen and thinking, well, there's my one-way bus ticket home.
What was the question?
Your favorite like recording or scene that you did with Dragon Ball?
Oh, it was probably the time that Boo and Satan took a bath together. And I like made him eggs. And then I kind of had this realization that, why are they living inside a house made of candied people? That was kind of dark.
How method do you
I
get
was
on
just
that?
thinking, how many of us
You
just
take a
actually,
bath together
yeah,
to-
how many of you, like, I literally just pictured, oh, I wonder if, like, because they're best friends in real life. It's like,
We've been roommates.
Yeah.
So they have had real
Josh and I met in acting school years before.
Have you bathed together? Have you bathed together? Like, did you get real good for that?
No. I'm sure I've made eggs before.
Did you clean him like a cat?
No. Okay.
Just
what the hell are y'all doing as roommates? What
I don't know. This one.
What do y'all like roommates?
We clean each other like cats.
I don't. Yeah. No, Josh and I are best friends in real life, and it just so happened art imitated life in this instance, and
except for the bath part,
right? Except for the bath part, it never happened.
Briefly, they were lovers.
I'm sure we've been in the swimming pool together with many other people,
and hijinks happen.
Yes.
sure got defensive.
Right? Maybe a hot tub or two. Who knows? All right. The point is, I love this man.
Yeah. Easy.
I got two favorites. The first one was when Boo went to town and he saw that there was ice cream and he wanted to enter into the tournament, and then he saw a magazine where he saw like GQ, like a GQ magazine. He thought, oh, I need to look like this to get to talk to girls. And one of his first lines that was
You think Boo's sexy?
I love that one, and then the
All pudding cups are Boo's.
nice. So
you do not know how much pudding we have to keep in the house. Seriously, if we run out, bad stuff happens.
I'm from Louisiana. I like banana pudding.
There you go.
Hot,
Yes, sir.
hot and high represent.
That's right. HHS class of '93. Oh, my bucks. All right. Just me. Yeah.
Maybe next time we'll start with Sonny and work
My favorite scene was something recently in Super when Krillin defeats this character that defeats Android 18. And 18 could defeat Super Saiyan, so I'm like, wow, Krillin's really stepping up. And he gets to say the line, and this was not in the script, but I said, I'm going to say this. I am so Krillin today. And then he gets his ass kicked. So he was totally on.
Thank you guys so much.
Bye, Tiff.
All right, so my question is very close to hers, except what is your favorite specific line from the Dragon Ball series?
Totally Krillin it today.
You think Boo's sexy?
Yeah. I don't know. I do remember this one scene where Mr. Satan thought, look, he needed to learn how to fly. And so he gets on a chair and he jumps in the air and he bats his arms and tries to fly, and he falls back down into the carpet. And I'm not lying to you. This is the part of the line. The part of the line was about eating the carpet. Yeah. I look back up at Sam and I'm like, that's the line? But he's like, yeah, that's the line. I'm like, you see what I see, right?
Carpet
So yeah, that was little weird lines like that.
Good much?
I'm afraid it's time for you to die.
It wasn't that bad of a story.
I know.
I I like it when Bulma's whiny. It's my favorite. So, whoa, death, and I don't even have any mascara on.
I enjoy Mrs. Breeze, but my voice is raggedy because I yelled Goku really loud yesterday.
On the radio, it was really
That's
cute.
what I was trying to do because I just love her. I said,
Oh, you're so handsome. Would you like a snack? I'm a birdie. I'm a birdie.
Definitely.
Thank y'all. Thank you. How's it going, guys? I'm Dallas, and my question
we're
for
from
you. Yeah. My question for you guys. I actually heard y'all on the radio yesterday, and you were talking about how the first time somebody heard you say that you're like pop culture icons, you're thrown off by that, you're surprised. My question for all you guys is, at what point did you realize that this little bitty show called Dragon Ball Z was going to blow up?
Just last year, really.
Makes sense?
when there literally was a balloon going down the Macy's parade.
That was really cool.
So true story. When I very first started voicing the characters, I was telling my mom, I was like, so I'm working on this show that I think's like a really big deal. Like, I think this is going to be a really big deal. And she's like, yeah, Kara, that's sweet. And at one point, I had all these posters, Dragon Ball Z posters that had been signed by the entire cast. I had like 6 of them, and I was like, hey, keep these in your office because I think this show's going to be a really big deal, and these are going to be like really cool at some point. And like years later, I overheard her telling her friend, she's like, oh my gosh, my daughter's in the show. That's like this really big deal. And I asked her, I was like, hey, do you still have those posters? And she's like, oh, I gave those all out to clients. I didn't know this was going to be a thing. And I'm like,
Mom, I told you.
Mothers.
yeah.
I realized around 2000, because that was the first time we went to Comic-Con, and we had already reached #1 at that point, right? But we didn't, that's such an abstract thing, you're the #1 animated show. But at Comic-Con, the lines were just forever, and I was there with Sabat and Sean and... You? Not that first one.
The first one in San Diego?
Yeah?
I was in
I
San
know I went
Diego.
there with you one time. Let's argue about it right now. Hey, you guys want to see that fight?
Cage fight.
I
don't think that'd be much of a fight.
But Tiffany will back me up. It was pretty amazing in those early days to see those huge lines at the conventions. And they were like, I guess we must be doing something that people like, you know.
My first inkling was that, and Sonny contributed to this because he drove the Hummer for a while, the Dragon Ball Z Hummer tour.
That was so
took
fun.
place. But Score Entertainment brought us in to like sign a bunch of cards, you know, for the initial, I guess, release of it and whatnot.
Yeah.
And they, you know, cut me a pretty sizable check, and I was like, huh.
Why are they giving me so much money?
I was like, really? Okay. I'm like, I'm gonna walk out slowly, make sure they don't take this check back, because that seems like ridiculous that you would give me that kind of money for this. But that's
Do you guys know what Score Entertainment is? What they did the Dragon Ball Z card game. Did you play that? I went to them and I said, hey, wouldn't it be cool if one of us drove that around the country? And they said, who'd be crazy enough to do that? And I went, I would. And I was before I was married, and I had a great time touring for months all around the world, all over the country. Not all around the world. They didn't let me go on the ocean.
Drive on the ocean.
It goes off road, but I don't know how
You couldn't
far.
drive it on the ocean.
Go drive down the ocean. Yes.
Mine was when I was a teacher. I used to be a school teacher, so it was when I started getting street cred in the classroom.
Oh, wow.
If they believed me. Come on, Mr. Williams. You are not.
Yeah, I guess my nieces and nephews kind of were like, you're kind of a big deal. And then I remember my brother being at a baseball game in Sioux City, Iowa, and hearing a line of like, you jerk! And was like, whoa, that's my sister. Like in a baseball field in Des Moines, or Sioux City, Iowa, just using sound bites. And then seeing the action figures was kind of like, that's awesome. When I saw the first action figure, I was like, I have arrived.
I feel the same way about the action figure, but I think my first time was I was on an airplane and I saw a little kid in a Dragon Ball Z t-shirt, and I was like,
That's good.
it's a thing.
And then I pushed him down.
But you know, I meet parents back in
And
the...
I won the fight.
I would meet parents back in the day, though, when the show was #1, and they'd say, what do you do for a living? I say, I'm a cartoon voice actor. Oh, yeah, anything ever heard of? A show called Dragonball Z, have you heard of that? And they're like, no. I said, do you have any kids? Yeah, well, you don't love them. I cannot tell you how many episodes of Hannah Montana I had to sit through because my daughter watched it. You don't love your kids.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Yeah,
Watch
right?
the things they watch.
Now those people are dead, because that was 150 years ago. Wow. And those kids are all grown up and have grandchildren of their own, so.
That got dark real fast, Sonny.
It did. Yeah, time went by so quickly.
Crazy.
150
It's only
years.
been 20 years.
Well, hey,
A lot of mileage in those 20 years.
I don't have any more questions for you guys, but I appreciate you guys so much. You guys have been a big part of my childhood growing up, so thanks so much.
Thank you. Thanks for watching.
I remember the first time I ever heard myself, I was waiting for it to air on television, and I'm like in my house. I lived in a fourplex because it was like college days. And
We called him a quad.
And I was living in the quad. And I'm sitting there, and finally it comes on, and I'm like, this is it! This is the moment I've been waiting for! And nobody was home. And I'm like, there was like a house out back, and I went, I'm just trying to get somebody to enjoy this moment with me. The first time I see myself on TV doing the voice, and I just sat there, I'm like, that's me! And
I found this homeless man. They brought him in the house.
And I was all by myself, but it was really cool.
See, and I had this. The first time when Super aired.
Don't wanna be all by myself.
Can we let me ask this question?
I was gonna say when Super aired, the first episode of Super aired, by then I had my little boy who was about 2 years old, and I remember there's the scene where Goten and they're plowing the fields and he's with Goku, and I actually got a picture of my little boy. He had stopped, he was playing just being 2, and then all of a sudden he just stops and he looks at his TV and he looks at me and he looks at the TV and he looks at me and he keeps doing this, and I got a picture of it, and that was like probably my most meaningful moment. I was like,
Yeah, that's
okay.
awesome.
I got very emotional over it.
That's cool.
My daughter thinks it's stupid.
It's because you don't love her enough.
It's true.
My most meaningful moment happened when I played Toonami Tom. I was like the first Toonami Tom, which was really close to my regular voice. And I had a girlfriend at the time who was a total bitch. And I wasn't home.
So he married her?
Yeah, no, that's a different lady. I wasn't home,
Just kidding.
but the TV was on downstairs, and Toonami Tom was just yammering about something, and she thought I was talking to her downstairs, and she's like, what? I'm trying to take a nap! What? And she got really pissed off. She stormed downstairs and, where are you? And looked at the TV, and I was still yammering as Toonami Tom. She's, God damn it. She told me that, I was like, yes.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Gotcha. Question?
After all that,
Yeah, right?
Yeah, right? Is that a critique?
are there any roles outside of Dragon Ball Z that y'all done that are your favorites? And do y'all have anything coming up and down the pipeline that you're excited about?
All right.
I'm excited about the reboot of Fruits Basket and And it's because in the original recording, my son played the young version of Kyo. So that show was really special to me just because of that.
I was actually going to say Fruits Basket because it was one of my most. It was one of my most memorable recording experiences because it was beautiful, and I voiced Kana, and it was a special experience, and just knowing that I was with Kent and
That's right.
Yeah, I think that's one of my new favorites by far. And yeah, I have some stuff coming. I'm really excited to see Bubble Girl and My Hero Academia that's coming up in season 4. That's going to be really fun. And I have a couple of really big things on the horizon that I can't talk about, and that's like the worst answer ever. But yeah, there's some exciting stuff coming.
For me, Mitzi and Shin-Chan and Botan and Yu Yu Hakusho were 2 of my other favorites. I'm really excited about a project called Jet Boy that a guy in Atlanta, Rock Bottom Productions, is shopping to Netflix right now. So to be in an original show has always been my dream. It hasn't happened yet, but I've been cast, so I'm excited about that.
I've done little voices on DBZ. I did some stuff for Case Closed. I was Betsy, I believe, for 3 episodes. And right now, I moved to New Orleans, Louisiana in 2011. When the Kai series was out, I was finally free to move about the country. And there is no voiceover work in there, so I concentrated most on production, theater, and the things that where my heart really loves and lives in. And I came back to Dallas this year. I've done a lot of radio, underwriting, voiceovers. I do a lot of on-hold messaging. Thank you for calling the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. If you know your party's extension, you may dial it during this message at any time. But I'm back in Dallas now because I'm working with Media Tech Institute. There's a location in Houston and one in Dallas, and I have written the acting program and have been approved by the ACCSC to have an associate's degree in program in arts, in art for acting for media. So you take all of your stage classes, your voice classes, your movement classes, stunt classes, and at the end you get your associate's degree and you'll have an entire acting reel, voiceover reel, anything you need. And we also teach 2 business classes to help you get into the business, into the industry safely, what to look out for, all the things. And you're in front of the camera like from the minute you start school, and you get to learn to be in the film environment. So even if you don't become an actor, you'll still be able to be a production assistant or an AD or a casting director. We teach you all those things. So that's my big thing, and I'm producing all the media for that too. So
that's really cool.
Yeah, thank you.
Did you already go, Kim?
I did.
Oh, sorry. I played a little character in a video game called Borderlands 2. Mr. Torg. I'm also all the Goliaths in that game. And so I'm excited because the release of Borderlands 3 is next month on September 6th or 9th or something. I don't know, there's a big party.
Both of those days happen, I hear.
There's a big party in Dallas, and so I'll be there. And then coming down I'm not sure about things I can talk about coming down the ways there, but
Tell us.
Borderlands.
You won't tell anybody.
I can't think of them. I don't even know if I can or can't talk about them. That's the stupid thing. That's how on top of that I am. Huh?
Then always air on can't.
Yeah, I'm not going to ask for forgiveness later.
I'm going to talk about it.
I'm more of a beg for forgiveness kind of guy.
I'm a blue girl, so that worked for me too. Thanks.
I'm still working on all Funimation stuff. I'm also in a Beastie Boys tribute band called Ryan and Stealing. Cool. I do MCA, and currently working on a couple of other musical projects to be named. Still staying busy, enjoying going on conventions with these fools.
Yeah.
And glad to be home. What up?
So was the original question favorite non-Dragon Ball Z role and what you're going to do, what your upcoming projects?
I think we moved on to upcoming projects.
Favorite non-DBZ role is Koro Sensei from Assassination Classroom. I have an upcoming project. I'm also a comic book artist, and Dark Horse is publishing a book I'm drawing called Elf Quest that'll be coming out in November, so be looking out for that. Don't freak out. That's cool. Freak out.
Next question.
Breathe.
Okay, so I have 2 questions. The first one is, if you voice multiple characters in Dragon Ball Z, which one is your favorite?
That would be like asking your parents which is their favorite child.
So definitely Krillin.
It's you. Yeah, it's obviously
Yeah,
you.
it
Mr.
actually
Satan
depends,
for sure.
It depends on the week.
Yeah.
Because it switches.
Yeah, it depends on what I did that day.
Usually it's whatever we're doing now. That's our favorite. Because you're about to put everything you have into everything you do.
The one that's paying me now.
Yeah.
Or payment is important too.
Doing Elder and Supreme Kai, I talk to myself all the time. I don't know how I would choose.
I liked it when my character got to be other characters, like when she got turned into Ginyu Frog and had to ribbit for an entire episode, or got possessed by Evil Baby. That was always fun.
What about, well, which one would you record first, Ken, when you were doing? Would you record Elder or Supreme?
Supreme's first, because he's way easier. It's softer on the voice, and then Elder. So at least I get to hear myself.
Right.
I get to play on myself.
Yeah, I always, if like video games have Bardock and Krillin, I always say do Krillin first, because Bardock's gonna be the worst. It's a hard voice to scream at.
I liked doing some of the other little bit characters too. Like, I remember being like the old lady in the village. Oh, well, there goes that Goku, you know, like.
Soldier F.
You get to stretch out of your own character and be something different. It's always fun.
My favorite is Chi-Chi, followed by Mrs. Greaves.
Mine depends, because I have grown. I mean, we've been with these characters for so long, and I see a parallel between me and Videl, and I see Goten as my son. So it literally depends on what's going on. At Dragon Ball Z, I prefer Videl. Dragon Ball Super, I prefer Goten. And whatever comes up next. Go Tanks, I have a blast. Now that I've taken the lead on Go Tanks, when Laura Bailey left the show and Alexis came in, I got to take the lead on Go Tanks. So for several years now, I've been doing that, and I get to have so much fun just being like, booyah, you know? So it just depends on what they're doing. That's my favorite for that time, just like children.
What was your second question?
By the way, I'm going through a stage of my life that I'm very nerdy about this one thing.
Okay.
What is all of your opinions on Harry Potter?
Awesome sauce.
Well, hold on. What's your opinion on Harry Potter?
Yeah. We don't want to cross.
Because my opinion is whatever your opinion is.
Smart man.
If you ask me a single question, you'll never hear the end of it.
All right, well then I love Harry Potter.
Yeah.
We like Harry
It's real good. It's real good.
I've seen all the movies, and I read a book once.
Not that book.
Not that book, but I have read a book.
Good question.
I've read all the books since all the movies. It sucked. No, I'm just kidding. I loved it. I loved it. I got my daughter into it.
All right, hand the microphone. We only have time for 2 more questions, so we'll see if the lady is.
So be honest, is this a good question? Hand the mic over if it's not.
Well, I only have 2 questions.
Oh, you have 1.
Ish.
You get half a question now.
Go ahead. All right.
I mean, look, if you want to fight Michael Rooker when he comes on stage, I'll let you fight Michael Rooker when he comes on stage, all right? I think we can all take him together.
Yeah,
We got this. It's fine. My name is Matt, and I am a teacher. Thank you. For you.
Yay, teachers!
My question is for almost all of you. Tiffany, I'm sorry. How did it make y'all feel when y'all were going to redo part of the series after Z? Basically, GT is obsolete.
Yeah. You talking about Kai?
Are you talking about coming back to
Just the
Kai?
fact that he kept going. I remember, do you guys remember getting the phone call? Well, first Kai, because I was like, wait, they're doing it again? Like,
Yeah.
they're doing the whole thing again? And it was
I was
great.
really bummed.
I'm sorry.
I was really excited because we had a chance, because we now had some chops, you know, when we started out, we're all very green, and now we can actually do this the way because we were all kind of embarrassed by the first season, you know?
Yeah.
So we got to do it the way we would do it now, and Chris let a lot of us who were already directing direct ourselves, so it was like, I get to show exactly the way I want Krillin to be. That's amazing. Love
Yeah,
it.
the second time around we had a lot more freedom with our characters, but actually under a much better crafted scene to do it in, you know.
Writing was so much better.
The writing and everything was better. We had a much more a better idea of what the storyline was. I mean, from those early days, we were using the Spanish dub to write our dub. Right? That's how green we were.
Translation shit.
That's how green it was back in the
We're
early
still
days.
using the paper scripts.
Yeah, still paper scripts and everything. We had beta machines, and they would click and word, had actual tape, bro. And so, it was really fun because you got to sink your teeth in a little bit deeper, have a little more fun, and I think these characters, kind of like when you think back of the early Simpsons days, you know, those characters sound a lot different than it was all more well-rounded.
And they weren't trying to dumb it down for kids either on Kai, so we actually got to do the way the original intention was.
Yes.
And happy to keep the same characters.
Of course.
Oh, so happy. I remember I just kept, seriously? Like, and then super happy. I'm like, really? There's a whole new series? And then the movies, and each time it's like, so now I almost feel like we're just all sitting back and being like, okay, so what's gonna happen next?
Give me more, give me more, give me more.
I want to keep going.
That's my second question. Can we expect anything in the future?
I hope so.
I've only heard rumors.
Based on what I've seen on the manga, they're 50 mangas in on the new Super.
It would be silly not to go on.
I can only imagine, but we're the last ones to know.
We literally, I find out more information from you guys than I find out from Funimation, by far.
Real talk.
Yep.
Real talk.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, this will be the last question.
Better be the best
apologies. Y'all can boo me if you want to, but unfortunately, I know. Feel free, but she will get the last question.
Okay, what is your thoughts on the live action of the Dragon Ball movie?
The Evolution was amazing. That was the best movie ever made.
Man, that was so awesome.
It was another Citizen Kane, really.
I can't believe they didn't make a sequel.
Really, like 3 sequels I've had with. That was a good,
No,
good start.
it wasn't that good, was it?
No, it's terrible. It was awful.
I remember getting people calling me going, are you going to be in the new Dragon Ball Z live action movie? And I'm like, yeah, no thanks.
I was mad that we weren't
It's almost like it's almost like they never even saw the show.
If we had been in it.
It didn't even have Mr. Satan.
No, or Krillin.
Right? It barely had a Piccolo, whatever that guy was.
Yeah.
I like that guy though. I like him.
The actor, he played Spike from Buffy.
Yeah, I like him.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
He said that they didn't even want him to be green. He insisted that Piccolo be green. And they said, okay, if you gotta be green. He's Piccolo.
Good question.
Yeah, we all feel
Thank
like
you for your
guys
question.
did a big mess up.
Thanks for bringing up that
Thanks for
abysmal.
coming. Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you all.
See you Saturday.
Make some noise for you guys.
Come see us in the theater.
Now you'll all be in your booths, correct?
Yes.
So if you have other questions, they will all be out in the main auditorium. So go ask them any questions you have remaining. Ladies and gentlemen, the voice cast of Dragon Ball Z. And stick around, the Michael Rooker panel will begin in just a moment or two.